Hello, everyone. We have made it. After 11 days prior to this one, 11 tournament days, countless matches, we have made it to the five-star Grand Prix 2025 finals. And that brings us to our final daily review of this five-star Grand Prix daily review series. I am your host, as always, Scott E., and I cannot wait to dive into this show. A surreal Final Four to begin with. No one could have predicted the perfect Final Four. I just don't know if there was a world where that was possible. And yet, as we sit here now and we have our final two and what we know that of, and we have our winner, there is so much to talk about in that respect. Thank you, everyone who has joined me along the way for this review series. It has been an absolute blast to continuously go through what has been a roller coaster of a tournament, from predicting the winner, from predicting who would make it on, the quality and the greatness of what this tournament truly became as time progressed. This five-star Grand Prix completely wiped out the one from last year. This was a tournament set up for nothing but insanity, and it came through on every bit of insanity to the very end. If you've joined me along the way for this review series, once again, I thank you. It's been incredible. I am recording this immediately after the show, having this up the day of, because that's what this tournament deserves. It's just been an incredible ride. It's been an incredible roller coaster. If you haven't checked out the previous days, I ask you to go do so. Check out day 12. Check out day 12 if you haven't. I said 11 days earlier. I meant 12 days. We've been through 12. This is day 13. This is the final. You can check out day 11, day 10, and so on and so forth. But we are here at the final. We are here at the very end. And with Azumi, Rina, Saori Anou, and Momo Watanabe all vying to walk away as the winner of the 2025 five-star Grand Prix, there was nothing but a guarantee for intensity, for excitement, and just a never ending level of uncertainty, because the fact we got here, the fact this was the matchups, like I said, I can't say there was anyone that might have predicted the perfect Final Four. You may have predicted 3, 2, 1, whatever it may be. I know I couldn't have been more off, and I know entering this show, I couldn't have been more happy to be off. If you listen to the five-star Joshi show this past week, it was up on Friday. We previewed the five-star final, and I told myself that the final that we got, I couldn't get myself to believe it. It just felt too perfect. It felt too amazing. I just couldn't get myself to believe it. But my God, we will get into that. But before we get there, we got to start at the very beginning. We got to start with the first number of matches. So, with that, let's get to the review, folks. The five-star Grand Prix finals. Your Red Stars block final was none other than Azumi going one-on-one with Rina. Rina has been the MVP of this tournament. Rina has continuously showed up into the big match and not only stepped up, but delivered each and every time. She showed through this tournament. She showed through the Starlight Kid match earlier this year. She is ready for anything. She is ready for the next step. She is ready for whatever you bring to her. This match was outstanding. This week for Azumi might be her greatest career week ever. It has to be, right? It has to be, because the performances that she's put on have been second to none. And whether it was the Korakuen or this night, she just delivered greatness. Now, Azumi and Rina standing across the ring from each other. Listen, you know I'm a Rina fan through and through. But that being said, Azumi has long been someone who I've rooted for, has long been someone that I've cheered for. Long time Queen's Quest fan here after all. So seeing her in this spot, finally make it to this spot, was an emotional in its own way. That being said, always rooting for Rina to go all the way through. But this match was simply fantastic. Simply a war. Simply what you want out of these two vying for a final spot. I think this match was so good that the match after it had no choice but to struggle in trying to follow it up. Not that the performances weren't strong, not that the match wasn't strong, but this was that good. I think some people may say, "Oh, you know, if you two make it, whatever." No, the dramatics, the creativity, and the excitement of what this match was and what this story or what the story of this match is for both wrestlers speaks for itself. This match was tremendous, just absolutely tremendous. Azumi attacked right off the rip. She didn't need to, she didn't need to wait for hate shenanigans or anything. And here's the thing about Rina's matches, right? Hate never gets involved in her matches. It's quite the opposite on the other side with Momo Watanabe, and I think that's very exciting. Um, for Rina, it was about not only showing that she was capable of being in this spot, but continuously getting literal seconds away from the big victory. And that's what we had here. Rina got back on the upper hand, hitting a judo throw, and they went to the outside. Azumi getting tossed into the chairs, then a head kick on the apron, however, by Azumi to turn it back around. You know, she did the thing where she flips her around, kicks her in the head, but she followed that up with a terrifying stomp to the back of Rina, who was hanging off the apron. She looked like she face planted into the floor. That was terrifying, but also a great spot. They get back into the ring. Rina blocks a kick from Azumi, hitting a great Northern Lights suplex. That was great. Rina then falls up, hitting the double double for a great near fall. Of course, if you don't know what the double double is and you haven't been following this entire series, the double double is the double knees twice. You know, she hits in the middle rope, then the top rope. She hit that back to back, good near fall there. Azumi then got her leg trap German suplex, releasing her and then hitting Rina with a buzzsaw kick. They continue to work back and forth. They both get to the top rope. Looks like one of them are going to fall. They're trading forearms, and Ozzy is able to essentially get a big time stretch on Rina that forces Rina to fall to the floor and get a double foot stomp for a great near fall. Azumi would then work towards the numero uno that has been the ticket to this point, that has been the ticket to getting her to this point. And this is when you start to hear the Rina chants. The crowd was going crazy for Rina. They were all in. They were all in on the 18-year-old superstar, the phenom that is Rina. But Azumi kept fighting through, as did Rina. Rina comes back, goes for the jackknife, but that's reversed into a near fall that Azumi got on a reversal. Followed that, Rina hits a hydrangea bomb for a great, great spot, following that up with the hydrangea itself. Azumi struggles to the ropes. Azumi is able to get out of it, and they then trade a great near fall. We get the jackknife by Rina, but that's a near fall. So Rina's now in the spot. She's going through all of her spots that have given us her victories through this match, which you know is what is setting up. She hits a big time, big boot on Azumi, hits the gory bomb for a near fall. That was the heartbreaker for me. I said, oh no. Oh, no. But from there, she did not stop. However, Azumi did hit the destroyer. She would then go for the arm trap destroyer, but that was then reversed. Rina gets her up and hits a insane vertebreaker for a near fall. The vertebreaker, a move she teased earlier in this tournament. She then hit it, drilled Azumi with it, and I said to myself, Oh my god, it's over. It's over. It's over. This is the new finish. This is the new finish until we get to the Tiger Lily. But no, but no. A insane near fall that just had me on freaking out. So from there, the the emotions start to get the emotional strings gets start to get pulled at, and you see what Rina's going for. She hits that top rope drop kick. She goes for the Tiger Lily, but it's reversed. They trade back and forth. She goes for another Tiger Lily. That is also reversed. Azumi hits a destroyer, followed by the arm hook destroyer and a Zumi Sushi to get the victory and lock in her spot in the 5-star Grand Prix finals. Plain and simple, this match was sensational. Plain and simple, this match was everything you want the 5-star Grand Prix to be. Listen, I know some people are going to say, "Oh, too many near falls, yada yada." No, it didn't matter. You're playing to the dramatics. You're playing to the intensity that comes with a match like this. You're playing to the near falls, and ultimately for Rina, you're playing to her story, right? Rina's story is well known, right? Rina's story of getting that big win is well known. She came up short in her Wonder Stardom Championship match when she went for that Tiger Lily was unable to hit it earlier this year. She of course came out short in the Cinderella tournament as well. Now she comes up short here. But this year has been a year of telling you it's time. And when she hits that Tiger Lily, it's going to be the biggest win of her career. That is what they are telling you. That is the story she is telling you. That is what she is telling you, and that is the story you need to follow. I become so invested in my favorites and the stories they could be telling. And this is to me about as good of a story as you could be telling right now. A tremendous match and a tremendous moment for someone like Azumi, who has always been destined for greatness. A tremendous moment for Azumi, who went out there and had one hell of a week up until this point. One hell of a week to set up one half of a final that I don't know if any one of us could have imagined would truly happen. But that was only part one of the opening rounds, and for what it's worth, this match just just otherworldly. Otherworldly. Some people may just tune in for the final match. No, no, no. You gotta watch this entire show because this match was so great. Just hit me in all the right spots. Just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. But we get to the second block final match. It was Saori Anou versus Momo Watanabe. For me, going into the Blue Stars final, I asked myself, is there a world where Momo Watanabe wins? Because I think a lot of people, myself included, kind of just accepted, oh, this is a Saori Anou tournament win. Um, when you looked at the final four and trying to convince yourself that Azumi or Momo could win, for me was always tough because I feel like I've been down that road before, especially with Momo Watanabe and the potential to lean back on the Cosmic Angels versus Hate, Cosmic Angels versus Saya Kamatani story was right there. But I've never been so happy for it not to be true. And I've said this time and time and time again throughout the past couple of months. But if there was ever potential of Momo Watanabe winning this tournament, it would spark the babyface turn that we all desperately want, or at least I and many of you who have commented have wanted. And after the way, Momo cheated her way through the Saori match, it made you think, could we ever get there? Well, we'll continue to talk about that. But for the match itself, it was gonna take a lot to try to live up to what we watched before. because I think Azumi and Rina just absolutely went out there to steal the show from two wrestlers who have been in main events many times before. And I think that's okay, right? I think that's fine. Because they still had a very strong match. I don't think there was a world for me where these two are going to have a bad match. I think the dramatics were there, the excitement was there. It was just you were watching a crowd come down from the insane, insane previous match. So the match opened up early. Saori Anou put on the figure four. We made it out to the outside, Momo throwing Saori into the chairs not once but twice. And I think what's important for this match is there was a lot of focus on the heel work of Momo Watanabe and the continuation of hate being involved in her matches. Um, so that's very notable, of course, heading into the final. Momo managed to hit a B driver on Saori on the apron, but that was not done. Saori would then pick up Momo and hit a Northern Lights bomb. Or Northern Lights bomb. That would be crazy. She did not hit a Northern Lights bomb. She hit a Northern Lights suplex on the apron to follow that up. They get back in the ring and start trading forearms back and forth before making their way up to the top rope. On the top rope, Momo would hit her Uranagi before they'd make it back up to the top rope where Saori Anou would hit her Super Frankenstein. There was a continuation of Saori's work towards, that arm bar submission where she'd also start to utilize her leg to choke out her opponent as well, which I think has become an interesting looking one and one that's becoming more of a threat time and time again. Momo would manage to get out of the submission, getting to the ropes, and that's when hate began to get involved. Hate's involvement started, and that's really where it did not let off. Raka smashed Soriano in the back with the box, allowing Momo to try and smash her with the bat, but she'd miss not once but twice, and the match would continue on. Hate would get less involved. Soriano followed that up with two German suplexes with a perfect bridge for a kick out. Momo Watanabe managed to hit the tequila sunrise and a head kick, but that would not be enough. She would then catch Saori at one point to hit a reverse B driver for a great near fall. From there, she'd lock in the chicken wing, trying to slow down Saori once again. Saori would follow that up with a full Nelson suplex and the Taunton doll for another great near fall. Soriano would, in fact, get the pottering that has won her so many matches throughout this tournament that got her to this point. And Momo Watanabe would kick out. Momo would reintroduce the baseball bat, getting to and smashing Soriano with it. That is when the crowd had some loud boos in that moment. Soriano would plant her by taking the bat and doing a German suplex with the bat for a great near fall. Momo would then hit a big head kick, a punt, and then the tequila sunrise for a near fall. Saori managed to survive the sunrise, but one more sunrise was not enough. Momo would get Saori to her feet, hit the peach sunrise, and lock in her second ever 5-star Grand Prix final appearance. A win over Soriano, someone that I think many just kind of accepted was going to be in that final. That one that many accepted was going to be in that spot. And from there, you locked in the unbelievable final of Momo Oz colliding. Azumi, Momo Watanabe, 5-star Grand Prix final. Unimaginable to me. But my God, the moment that Momo won, my heart was full of joy. And we'll now step into a final match, into a great, great moment here in a second. But I just want to say that this match I thought was really good. I quite enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed the dramatics. It wasn't to the point of the previous match, but it doesn't matter. A Momo Oz final, 4 years in the making, right? When Momo Watanabe turned her back on Queen's Quest, Momo Watanabe turned her back on Azumi We have now made it to the 5-star Grand Prix final. Azumi versus Momo Watanabe. Azumi versus Momo Watanabe. Momo Oz facing off 4 years in the making, 5-star Grand Prix final. If you asked me if this match would ever be the final of a 5-star Grand Prix in the past year or two, I would have said no way. Uh, there are certain points I think in fandom where you may or may not give up on a possibility. You may or may not give up on, hopes of something like this happening. And for me, the ability to believe in Momo Watanabe had almost been beaten out of me in many ways. Ever since All-Star Grand Queendom last year, um, it started to feel like she'd only be the challenger ever again. Never never the champion. Never the one standing tall at the end of the night in the main event. Uh, you know, Losses to Micah at that show for the World of Stardom title. Lost to Mercedes Moné twice for the TBS and Strong titles. And the IWGP title loss to Mayu Iwatani at Historic Crossover last year. Um, that one especially felt like a closing of the book in many ways, and yet here we are, 5-star Grand Prix final 2025, and she's going one-on-one with Azumi, standing across the ring from her former tag team partner, Queen's Quest Forever. That is all you could feel in this match, and the story itself was a story of Momo believing in herself. So much of this tournament, I think, was a unique experience watching Momo Watanabe, because I don't know if I don't think she had her strongest tournament for the past, what, 8 years. She had been pretty much guaranteed top 5, top 3 best performer. This wasn't that tournament for her. She had some great matches. The Souza one, the second Saori one, I love those matches. But it wasn't the Momo of old. And I think that's an interesting topic point because in many ways it felt like she saved herself for this one. She gave everything, she pulled out every trick in the book and left it all out there to finally get her moment. Momo Watanabe has been one of the best wrestlers in the world since she was 18 years old. She's now 25 years old, still as young as can be and as ready as can be. And on the other hand, you have Azumi, someone who has, again, since she was 18 years old, been one of the best in the world. Someone who has been continuously considered in that realm, who has continuously been considered someone who's ready to make that next jump. And watching these two go face to face, stand face to face in the final of Stardom's biggest tournament, I never, ever, ever thought that could be a reality. Not because I doubt their talents, just I never saw it happening. I didn't want to dream that big. And I, you know, said this on Twitter, but I'll follow it through here. Momo Watanabe is the reason I fell in love with Joshi. It was her and Mayu during my Stardom watch through that, those two specifically made me fall in love with the style of Joshi wrestling and the creativity behind it. And seeing Momo in this spot, it brings back old memories in many ways. It felt like I was seeded back into, that 2021 final for Momo where you believed, or multiple World of Stardom title matches. You get my point. And now that we sit here with the match completed, let's review the match. Let's talk about the tournament and everything at the end here. Um, Azumi versus Momo Watanabe, 5-star Grand Prix 2025 final. Red Stars winner Azumi versus Blue Stars winner Momo Watanabe. The match started off quick, trading off forearms, and then instantly Natsuko got involved, pulling Azumi down. But that brought us to the outside. You do the early going through the chairs and things like that. Um, a very important, I think, aspect of it um, is that that has become the trend of these matches is, or the hate match, so to speak. And it can get old, but this match was a lot more slowed down. It was a much more methodical pace early going. Um, Momo had the control from there after getting, throwing Azumi into the chairs, doing a crab on the floor, just kind of dominating and forcing Azumi to come up with answers, forcing Azumi to figure out, what do I do? What's next? And her answer was trading suplexes. Momo hit one on Azumi on the apron, but Azumi rolled through, hit one to her on the floor. She then got back in the ring and hit her signature corner crossbody to the outside, the one that she famously hit in the match against Starlight Kid, that incredible high-speed title match from a few years ago. They continue to trade. Azumi gets Momo in the ring. She has her hanging upside down, hits a beautiful corner stomp, driving through her. She followed that up with a diving foot stomp across the ring, but there was no result there. Continuously back and forth we'd go. Azumi would go for the Azumi sushi, and she would be met with a head kick. Then they'd start trading from there. So the trading from earlier would come back around. Ultimately, Azumi then started to work on the arms of Momo Watanabe, right? Working towards that numero uno, putting on the Fujiwara, getting in the numero uno, but Momo would fight out. She'd hit a reverse B driver, then hit a B driver, but that B driver was turned into a destroyer and an Azumi sushi for a great early near fall. This was far from over at this point. A big kick to the head from Momo on uh on Azumi, or from Azumi, I should say, to get back and keep fighting. She then hit a destroyer, but Momo would roll through from that and hit a Meteora to keep them going. Momo to slow the pace back down because we really got going there, got into a chicken wing, which was a very important aspect. Um, She attempted the tequila sunrise, which was reversed into a flash pin attempt by Azumi, but then got the chicken wing back in with her legs wrapped around Azumi. So the struggle continued here, right? I've talked about it throughout so much of this tournament is the beauty of the struggle, and the creativity of the struggle can be such a great addition to any match, especially a grueling 5-star final match. It's one that can just bring the best out of anyone. This is when big time Azumi chants started in the building. People getting super behind the young star, the New Japan Strong Women's Champion, believing in her. She locked in a numero uno where she was pulling back on Momo. And I'm sitting there, and this is why I'm going to say I think this match connected with me so much. I think on the surface, yeah, there's a lot you can nitpick about it, but it willed itself to being great, and it's because the story of it, of Momo overcoming all these different things, it was fitting of, in many ways, her career of just pushing forward and continuing to go and go and go and continuing to put out great work, continuing to be one of the best. Um, it looked like Momo was going to be out, but Daichi was ripped out of the ring, and it looked like it was all going to be a mess from here, right? We saw it in the Saori match. They set the stage for it on this past Wednesday when the hate runs into the ring and gets involved. Well, they were doing that again. They broke up the submission, and Ruaka and Zusanaba about to run into Azumi, and Momo stops them. Momo stops them in their tracks. They couldn't believe it. Azumi takes them out. And for that moment, Momo said, once again, very similar to the IWGP Women's title match last year against Mayu Utani, I want to do this on my own. This is my moment. I need this to be my moment. Just as special as it gets there. She hits a tequila sunrise on Azumi, that just fall with a kick out. Azumi comes back, hits a destroyer for a kick out. She then does the arm hook destroyer for another kick out. That's when I lost it. I was like, oh, it's over. But no, they get to the top rope. Momo teases hitting a top rope B driver, but she's met with a top rope sunset flip powerbomb by Azumi for another fantastic near fall. Momo follows that up with a high kick, stomping her head into the ground, and a punt, then a buzzsaw kick, then a tequila sunrise, then a peach sunrise, and Azumi kicked out. Momo said, I got one thing left in the tank here. I got one thing left in the tank, and that is the Peach Thunder. So she goes for the Peach Thunder, but Azumi reverses it, goes for the Azumi Sushi, rolls through Azumi Sushi, and I'm not kidding. I thought it was over. I thought this was it. I thought the match was over. I thought we were just Azumi was getting the big win, gonna go face Saya, all these different things. I gave up. In that split second I gave up. I was like, no, not again. But no, she kicked out. Momo kicks out. She catches Azumi. She hits the Peach Thunder, and Momo Watanabe wins the 2025 5-star Grand Prix. I have tears in my eyes saying it out loud. I am recording this right after the final, mind you. And the win for Momo Watanabe is a continuous run of hard work, determination, and undeniability. Is the continuation of Momo Watanabe being one of the very best on the planet and never, ever, ever changing that. Yes, she's had her ups and downs, maybe in terms of being the very best and such, but Momo's always been one of the best. And this is a moment that makes this 5-star Grand Prix one of the most special in my heart. You know, I said plenty about the 32-person field and all that. I think many people did. It was still too many people, but it doesn't freaking matter at the end here. We sit here now and we have Momo Watanabe standing tall. We stand here now with some matches that are unforgettable throughout the tournament. We sit here now with some of my favorite shows of the year from this tournament. And we sit here now with Momo Watanabe in the driver's seat to not only get a World of Stardom Championship match, but very well perhaps be a baby face again, perhaps be the good guy again. It's something that I've never given up on because it just made too much sense. I said it at the start of the year. There's no story that's more, or let me rephrase. I said it when Tam retired. There's no story that's so much more exciting to tell in the Saya Kamatani World of Stardom title reign than that of Momo versus her. There's so much history there. There's so much to dive into there. And now we have the ticket. You just need to punch in that ticket and go with it, run with it. And I think we're going to do that. The telling hate to not help her was the start of that. I don't need your help. You didn't need to help Rina. She got here. Why do you keep let me do this? That's what that moment was. Momo Watanabe is your 5-star Grand Prix 2025 winner. I can't say it enough. That to me is as successful of a tournament as you can have, as successful of a final you can have. As she stands there standing tall, it's a moment that my fandom comes to full force. Listen, Stardom is not what it was when I got into it. I know that. But Stardom is still great. When it does things like this, it is so great. And Momo Watanabe is the epitome of so great. When you look at the field of Stardom's roster and what still feels the most Stardom, and that's not to say to previous regimes or whatever. That is to say through the years and years of change and style and all these different things that we've seen since the very beginning to now, what feels the same, and that is Momo Watanabe. She has battled, she has fought, she has stood at the top in every single era in some way, shape, or form, and now she stands here at the top of the five-star Grand Prix as your winner, as your five-star Grand Prix winner. I'm just going to keep saying it because she's wearing the crown. This is the image I am looking at. It's surreal. And if you're wondering, by the way, why aren't you reviewing the IWGP title match, Future Star title match? You can check out the five-star Joe show this Friday if you want this. This is all about the five-star. And I just, I'm full of joy. I'm full of joy. This is as happy as I could be. This is a result I have talked myself out of so many times through the years because I just couldn't believe it. This is just my genuine reaction. Truth be told, it is trying to find the words to morph into this conversation point. But at the end of the day, listen, the main event was great. Okay, main event was great. Is it the greatest five-star final? No, no. There are y- you can pick something from every bit of it and the hate involvement, obviously, whatever, but it told the story. And for me, it was as satisfying of a five-star Grand Prix winner as I've had since maybe Shuri's win when she beat Momo, funny enough. Like in terms of being a fan, this is right there. So congratulations to Momo Watanabe. She is your winner. The five-star Grand Prix as a whole, just to talk about it as a whole, um, it was surreal. It was pretty surreal. It started off with that rough first night, and doubt creeped in a little, right? As someone who was reviewing every show, doubt crept in a little. Like that's just natural. And I said to myself, "What is this tournament going to look like if this is what this was?" And what this tournament ended up looking like was one far better than last year. Probably better than 2023. I don't remember 2023. It was a tournament that I ended up loving going through. It's a tournament that gave me so many fantastic matches. My match of the night happened on this show. Match of the tournament happened on the show. Zumi versus Rina hit a different level for me. Um, I talk about how my favorite Stardom wrestler now is Rina, and that is 100% true. Um, but Momo is always going to be on that list, no matter what iteration, no matter if it's the ups and downs. She will always be on the list. An all-time favorite list, she's right on there. And seeing her win this was an incredible moment. Seeing her win this boosts this tournament above 2023, 2024, just to a realm because that's what matters in the end. Who wins? And now moving forward, that's the conversation point. What is next? How do we tell this story of Momo Watanabe? It feels simple. Will they go through with it? Will she challenge for the World of Stardom Championship like we all expect her to do, despite the fact that Saya Kamatani is the one that holds it? That's going to be the conversation point moving forward, but that's going to be the excitement of it all moving forward as well. This tournament was excellent. Before we end this incredible run of daily reviews, I want to just quickly go over the MVP and everything. Close this out in a strong way as we should, because obviously, that's an important part. That's been how we've reviewed this from start to finish. So we'll talk about MVP. We'll talk about all that real quick here. Let me just make sure everything's updated. Um, update, update. Ultimately, the tournament was an incredible run, and I'm gonna give my flowers to Azumi here too in 1 second because I think I don't know if anyone deserves them as much as her besides maybe Rina for what she did. So let's take a look here. The MVP goes to Rina for me. 3.70 rating. An incredible run. Closed this as strong as you possibly could with great match after great match. But shout out to Azumi. An incredible run of great match after great match. Her last 3 matches are among my favorites in the entire tournament. Just this is what Azumi can be, you know? Um, so many times people talk about the potential of Azumi, what she can be. This was it. This was it. This run the past week, the double match on Wednesday, the double match here on the final, that is Azumi at her very best. An incredible run. My match of the tournament ends up being uh, Azumi versus Rina from day 12. I got lost in that match. I did. It was incredible. Um, runner up, her and Saya, Azumi and Saya, Saori and Suzu, and even the final, all all in a different realm, but just a fantastic tournament in the end. One that was very tiring, admittedly, but one that was well worth it because of this image you see right here. Momo Watanabe is your 5-star Grand Prix winner, and now the next steps going forward. I thank you all for listening to 13 videos of this. I thank you all for the continued support here on the YouTube channel as we storm towards 1,000 subscribers. I please ask you now, like the video. That does us a lot of good, obviously, but leave a comment. What were your thoughts on the tournament as a whole? The winner being Momo Watanabe, the final, and everything else. Anything else you could think of. Leave your comments below. I do read them all. I'm getting through them all, long week and such. But please, please, please let them. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe as well. But what a 5-star it was. What a 5-star final it was. Momo Watanabe. I'm going to say it one more time. Momo Watanabe, 2025, 5-star Grand Prix winner. Incredible. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you so much for the support throughout this series. That is all from me. Hope you enjoyed the tournament. Hope you enjoyed the reviews. Stay with the channel. We're going to have so much more moving forward. We have so much coming up. But this is the end of the 5-star Grand Prix 2025 daily reviews. So long. See you later. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend, folks.